Michael with United Veterans Worldwide, excited for another video today with our dietitian for this channel, Leisa. And it's so great to be with you again today and to use your beautiful home and your kitchen. And today we've got an exciting menu for you guys. Today what we're looking at doing, if you remember last time we made a video together, Leisa created a recipe that we made together that was a quinoa salad. Absolutely delicious. I took some home. I think my wife ate more than I did. She absolutely loved it, and so she's reminding me, like, Michael, will you please make this for dinner tonight? And so now I'm making it.
I love it.
But today we're going to do something a little bit unique. I got a recipe from my sister-in-law, who is she has a YouTube channel called Cute Traditions, and I'll link that in the description. But it involves cutting up fruit, and I used apples because they're in season right now for us, and I put it into clear water with no additives in there, no sugar, nothing. And I just sat it onto a heating pad for about 3 days. And now if I can get this in close enough, you can kind of see some of those bubbles around the lid. And the fermentation process has started in here. So what's actually happening scientifically is we have the fruit fermenting in this water, which turns it into a lactobacillus, a healthy gut bacteria. And what we'll use is just the water, not the fruit, and we'll pour this into what we're doing right now for, and you'll see it, where is it? Down here, when I put the video. You'll be able to see the flour. So what we've already done is added 7 cups, 7.5 cups of flour. And then Lisa, we'll just go ahead and dump that into the mixer.
I like being on this end of it. You told me what to do.
All right, and then we're going to need some salt. We're going to need 2 teaspoons of salt.
A little bit of salt in there.
Put that in. Wonderful. And so maybe we'll just kind of mix that together for a little bit. And you can use what she's using right now, which is a nice Bosch machine, which will do the mixing for us. Or you can do this by hand with the spoon and mix it in. But right now we're just kind of blending the salt and the flour together. And then we're ready for the next step. So what I used here is a lid that I can keep track of which day I used it. What is today, the 3rd?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 days ago I used this. Yeah, I put it on there. And this allows it to be able to breathe. So I don't have to worry about the pressure building too much in here. And I'll show you what pressure like that looks like on this jar. You see how the jar is really raised right here? There's a lot of pressure in that jar. All right, so no explosion here. Good. Let me smell. Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can smell it. Do we have anything we can use to strain it?
Yes.
Let's try straining it. So we don't necessarily want to use the fruit, but we want to use the byproduct of the fruit with the normal fermentation process into our flour.
I love the idea of using fruit that you can just get anywhere right now, right?
Yes.
It's apple season, and why not use what we have?
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, now mix.
Now mix.
That was easy. Oh, yeah.
And I'll turn this a little bit so we can see the mixing happening here. Again, the videos that I've seen, people are doing this by hand, and they'll mix it quite a bit, and it'll be kind of a crumbly material initially until the liquid actually soaks in. So there are multiple processes in this step for this bread where we will stretch the dough. So initially the dough will be kind of clumpy, as you'll see. Once it sits for a little while, for an hour or so, and it rises, I'll take the dough and I'll stretch it. I'll stretch it a bunch of different ways, put it back in there again, cover it with a towel, let it rise again for another hour, and I'll repeat that process 2 more times. After the 3rd hour, I leave it alone overnight, and then tomorrow I'll take that bread, cut it into 2, let it rise again, put it in the oven, and process it from there and make the bread. So Not a difficult process, but what's unique about this is if you live in an area where you don't have access to store-bought yeast that can stay frozen and stay in its natural form, you can just do this with natural fruit where you live. Take that fruit, ferment it for a couple of days in water, and then pour that liquid in there, and that acts as the same type of a substitute for your yeast or for your leaven for the bread.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you tried it with any fruit other than apples, or do you recommend apples?
So my sister-in-law uses dates or
Oh.
figs because then it adds a little bit more of a fruity taste to the bread.
Oh.
So I think you could use anything. Now, we could probably take this right here, and we're going to talk about kombucha for a second. So kombucha is the byproduct of a lactobacillus SCOBY and any kind of fruit or sugar or tea of any kind to then combine and make what we would look at now as being like a carbonation. You see the bubbles there. Maybe shouldn't have shaken it too much.
This thing's gonna fall.
Yeah, this one might. So I'll see if I have the grip strength to... Yep, it's ready. Okay. And I usually watch the fruit to see if it's going to... Oh, we're good. Oh, we are good. Do you have a little cup or so we can use? I'm excited for Leisa to try this today because this is so yummy. I don't want to get her any of the fruit, but
Well, and again, use peaches.
peaches.
Like it's peach season. I love just using all these in-season fruits.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that is yummy. It's busy. I love it.
And it's a subtle flavor.
Yes.
A little bit bitter.
Yeah.
But
It's not super sweet, but it is just like the right amount of sweetness.
and you can taste the carbonation.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is the first time. It is good for you. It's great for your gut. Oh, that's so good. So we'll just put this back in your fridge at some point here, and you can continue to drink that and enjoy it. Now I'm going to show you guys how to make the kombucha.
Awesome.
And it's a multi-step process, and so what you'll need is you'll need a big jar. Like this one here is a gallon jar. And what we'll start by doing is getting hot water. So we need to boil some water.
Okay, perfect.
And then I'll want the water to be about up to here hot.
Like boiling water or just hot water?
Like boiling.
Okay.
So the benefits of kombucha, and I'll tell you about it right now as we start to boil this water. It's a natural probiotic for our guts. Mm-hmm. And so if we can make this at home, we'll try to look to replace kombucha with something else in our diet that's not as good.
Yeah.
So I was telling Leisa before we started today that I like to drink sodas because I like the carbonation. I like how it feels on the back of my throat. I don't know why that is. I wasn't raised on sodas, but whatever.
It's nice.
Yeah. So instead now I make my own kombucha and I drink it. So I may consume, if there's a jar like this size, I'll consume half of this a day. And so when I make kombucha, I usually make, and some of you have seen my videos where I'll make 6 or 7 of these type of jars at one time. And then my whole closet with heating pads are full of these jars fermenting it over time. So I'll do some prep work ahead of time too. So I want to talk about the differences in types of tea. So green tea is a common tea used across the world. Mostly came out of Asia. I don't consume a lot of teas. I do some natural teas. What do you call them? Herbal teas.
Yeah. Like chamomile or peppermint.
Yes. Yeah. But in this process, for some reason, the SCOBY, and I'll show what this looks like right here.
SCOBY. Does your SCOBY have a name?
So it has a smell. It's
Oh, it has a smell.
very pungent.
Mm-hmm. It smells like apple cider vinegar.
Yes, it does. Yeah, yeah. So it's almost like a brain-like material. Very, very squishy. And it'll form in the same shape as like this lid would be on the surface of the liquid. So when we put this into the jar today, it's actually going to form another layer of SCOBY that grows from this with that.
Cool.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep this tea vial, and I'm going to put in half and half. I'm going to use hibiscus flowers, which I love the coloring of this, and it's also a little bit sweet, and then I'll use half of the green tea here. So if you don't want to use green tea, what you'll see is that the byproduct of the SCOBY consuming sugar and the tea won't produce as much carbonation or as much impactful flavor. And I tried that on this one that we did today. It's very subtle.
It is.
But with the green tea, with the hibiscus, it's a much more, a stronger flavor. So let's see how much I've got there. Va bene. That works.
You just kind of eyeball it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what it'll end up being is about a tablespoon.
Okay.
And then I'll do probably a little bit more of the hibiscus.
Oh, it's such a pretty color.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Smell that aroma.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. And this by itself as a tea, if you want to heat it up, is just the best tasting. A little bit of honey and it's just perfect.
Nice and relaxing.
Yeah, perfect. So that green tea is very thin, so we're going to get a little bit of a seep through in this container. So guys, here's the container I poured it into, which is easy to dunk in the big jar and get ready.
I love it. So I love this because I don't think people realize how good this is for your gut.
Yeah, tell me.
Right? So we need, you mentioned it as probiotics, natural probiotics,
Mm-hmm.
right? And probiotics are a bacteria, and I think a lot of people hear bacteria and they think, I want that.
Right.
Right? Bacteria is usually associated with sickness, which we don't want. But in this case, probiotics are actually associated with a healthy gut.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of amazing. We have this gut-brain connection. So we've talked a lot about how to help our brains through what we're eating, right?
Yeah.
And probiotics are one of the best ways to do that because they keep our gut healthy. Our gut and our brains are really good buddies, actually. They communicate more than any other two systems in our body, and our gut has so many nerve endings, it's only second in nerve endings to our brain. So it has more nerve endings than our heart, than your arms and legs. You think all these other...
That is wild to think about.
Yeah.
But consider, if you've eaten some processed food or pizza late at night, what is your gut doing to your brain, and what is your brain doing, right? It registers something's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also think about, if you have a gut reaction, right?
Yes.
Or have you ever been nervous for something and you get butterflies in your stomach? If you feel stressed, you often feel it in your gut. So that connection is there. We just don't always think about it, right?
That's wild.
And because we don't have to think about it, it's not like you have to think, okay, now I'm going to digest my food. Your gut just does it because there's that natural connection between our gut and our brain. So as we're feeding our gut good things like probiotics and prebiotics and high fiber foods and things that we've talked about, it really is going to help our brains. It can help decrease anxiety. It can help you just think clearer, and it's just good for you.
It is. Yeah. No, and there's so much to what Lisa's talking about that is exactly what we need as veterans, first responders. When we talk about sleep issues, when we talk about anxiety, depression, any other mental fatigue, a lot of what we can do to make a difference in our lives, we're not talking about medication because there's a time and a place, but we're talking about doing something on your own, like Lisa suggests, that makes an impact here and here. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, and even if it's an easy swap, like switching out a can of Coke for a bottle of kombucha.
Yes.
That is such an easy swap.
Yes.
You're still going to get, the kombucha is not going to be quite your Coke, but it's going to do so much more for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's an easy swap that really is going to make a big difference.
Yeah. No.
And sometimes it's those simple changes that really add up.
Kombucha I like to do because I make my kombucha flavored based on the season.
Yeah.
So right now the season for us has been apples and peaches.
Yes.
So I have a ton of that. I'm gonna make a slurry of all the apples that we have at home, and I've got a huge box of it. And I'll just freeze it and use it throughout the winter so I continue to have that same good content. But I've tried different things with my kombucha. Like I've done cinnamon and apples
Oh,
around the holiday season,
Mhm.
and it just smells so good throughout the house, and it's also just so good.
It's like a healthy apple cider.
Yes, but when we start getting sicknesses, then I start doing like a ginger and lemon, and then that is something that my family really enjoys when they're not feeling great and they're sore throat.
Mhm.
They'll just consume that little by little. So the mixture of the carbonation, the ginger, and the lemon, a little bit of honey. It's like a recipe for healthy nutrition, right?
Well, and you know the saying, food is medicine.
Yes,
This is a prime example, right?
yes, prime example. I love it. So if you watch water boil, it'll go faster, right?
It's almost there. We got bubbles. It's pretty close.
You know what? I think we'll use it as it
You
is.
think it's good?
Yeah, I think it is
You
good.
need a funnel. Or you got it.
Let's find out. Let's find
You
out.
got
Is it? Can I touch this?
That works.
All right. Let's see where we're at. And if this jar breaks, we'll get another one.
Have you had a jar break before?
Yeah.
Where do you buy your jars?
I have purchased most of my jars
If you get enough water.
on Amazon. Yeah.
The
And I always make a mess when I pour. So
And where do you buy your tea? Also Amazon?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the products that I get, and it's going to read it backwards. Oh no, it's reading it forward for you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, hibiscus flowers from Star West. I get all of my herbals in big packages like this, because if you buy the herbal teas or even the regular teas in the little flimsy packets that you dip in,
Yeah.
mind you, it's a single serving. It's easy like that, but it's also 3 times as expensive as it would be if you just did it on your own. Maybe even more expensive. So what I'll do now is I'll take this, and I got this from Temu.
Oh.
It's a Chinese characters on it.
Awesome.
Oh, look at
So you
that
can
red.
already see the color. That really is pretty.
We start to see the water change colors. So what we'll do is we'll leave this in here for about 7 to 10 minutes. And you see the tea is so finely cut that it's going to actually seep through. So what I'll do is when we get to the next step of the kombucha, which is going to be in 3 weeks,
Okay.
we'll filter the.
Just like with the cheesecloth?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that! Isn't that amazing color?
It really is so pretty.
And it smells so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll let it seep now for about 7 to 10 minutes. That's a good time frame for enough of what the voila.
And is there a way to tell when it's done seeping, or you just always do 7 to 10 minutes?
I usually do 7 to 10 minutes. Now, people will tell us online to say don't do more than 5 to 6 minutes, but
Okay.
I'm after some of that flavoring, and it's almost like the SCOBY loves a little bit of extra flavor. So we want to treat this correct. Yeah, it is hungry. Very pungent, but it's amazing the science that happens when we combine the tea, the SCOBY, a little bit of sugar. Lisa, do you have sugar as well?
Oh, yeah, we have sugar.
So when I showed up at Lisa's house today to do this, guys, I forgot a lot of things on my counter. I was trying to fit everything in one space, so silly me. So we'll need for a gallon, let's do, you didn't find this too sweet, did you?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
so I think I did a half a cup of sugar.
Okay.
So we'll just put that in there right now while it's seeping. And this will add additional benefits for the process that takes place with the SCOBY. Perfect.
I just love the science.
Isn't it cool? Can I use this?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lightly stir this sugar.
So where did you get your SCOBY?
So I started my SCOBY on my own.
Okay.
So what I did was I bought a bottle of kombucha. That's a normal brand. You could get it at any store in the U.S., Canada. And I took that and I poured it into a jar just like this, filled it up with regular water, added a little bit of sugar, and then sat it on a shelf for about 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, it grew a thin layer of a SCOBY.
Okay.
Now what I didn't bring today, and which I've shown on my videos prior, is I have a jar this size that's just full of SCOBYs. Yeah. We call it the SCOBY Hotel. And my kids hate looking at it, and they say, like, we can't believe that from that looking thing, right, look at this, comes something that's so tasty and actually so good for your body. All right.
So it's really kind of like a sourdough starter.
It is.
It'll just keep growing as long as you take good care of it and keep feeding it.
As long as you keep it moist, right? So what I will do sometimes is I'll even take a little bit of this liquid as a starter, and I'll put it in here today when I put this SCOBY in. Okay. So right now the water is scalding. Yeah. It's burning hot. What it does with the sugar is it melts that sugar into the liquid so that it's all equally balanced. So I'll just make sure that that sugar is not clumping up anywhere. Yeah, so the sugar's melting right now. We're seeping the tea. The next step for us is to fill this the rest of the way up in the jar with cold water. So we're almost to that point. Guys, I want to put in a little pitch here for our mental health. I've interviewed a lot of people recently on the channel, and our growing audience is so wonderful to see, because I know that so many people need to hear the message of hope that comes from turning from our traumatic experiences to the light, to a place where we can find joy, find healing, find connection again. And that's what I want to encourage today. And Leisa and I have met several times. I think this is our 4th time meeting. And each time we make a connection, when we're cooking, when we're talking about nutrition, it just releases like the dopamine in our brain that says we're doing the right things, we're in the right place, the right time, with the right people doing the right things. And why? Because anytime I can encourage you guys to eat healthier, to get in shape, all of it's going to lead back to this connection here. You know, Leisa mentioned this gut-brain connection, which comes from the foods that we consume and what we're making here today, including this fermented bread and this kombucha, because we want everybody here on this channel to find new ways of enjoying life. And sometimes cooking, baking, making things, being creative, all releases that dopamine in our head that combats that depression and that anxiety. And guys, that's what we want for you. We really do. Some of the people I've interviewed lately have gone through treatments for therapy for their mental health, and it's been so successful. And some others have resisted that urge to get treatment. And I want to encourage everyone in this journey to reach out, find a therapist that works well for you, work through your trauma, get to a plateau where you feel like you can give back to this community like Leisa's doing with us today. I'm just so grateful.
Well, and as much as we talk about food, right? Food only goes so far. Mm-hmm. There's for sure help for those situations where food isn't going to cut it.
Right. And I've said it before many times, you know, that there's a spiritual journey that's part of this whole process too. And I'll never not give credit where credit is due to God for rescuing me out of that darkness. And my purpose in this channel is to help other people get rescued out of that darkness as well. And with Leisa's help in this nutrition process is one of those steps that's really key. All right, I think we're at the place now where this has seeped long enough. Some people say don't let it drip. It gets too pungent. I like it pungent, so I'm going to let it drip.
The more flavor, the better, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Good.
Okay.
Now we're ready for the cold water.
Let me know if you need more after that.
Okay. Oh, I'm such a mess.
It's fine. That one doesn't pour very well. Pour fast.
That's actually going to be great.
Is that perfect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, I am so messy. I swear I poured that thing so slowly that we created a tsunami on this table.
It's fine.
Oh, Lisa, thank you.
You should see me when I do.
Okay, so now I'm going to test with the water. My hands are clean. Great. See the temperature of that water, Lisa. Test it with your finger.
Okay, so it's like barely warm.
Barely warm, barely warm. And when we stick this on your counter and we let it sit for the next 3 weeks, we'll probably put a towel over it just to give it a little bit more privacy to consume and to degrade the tea or whatever. Take a look at the coloration here. So if you don't like green tea or black tea, which Lisa and I don't consume on a regular basis anyway, for religious reasons, look at the coloration. After 3 weeks, it will no longer be like this. Right now, I can't see all the way through my hand clearly.
No, it's pretty opaque.
After 3 weeks, you're going to see very clearly through here.
It's magic.
It is.
It's really magic.
It's science.
Food science is the best science.
So that's a great temperature. What we'll do now is we'll take out this wonderfully slimy...
So how do you know how much to add? It looks like a liver.
It does look like a liver. I will usually add what I would consider to be 2 SCOBYs into a gallon jar.
Okay, just
so
like 2 sheets?
Two of them.
Okay.
Let it sit in there, and I always lick my fingers.
Does it taste?
It's bitter.
Is it?
It's bitter, but it's good. Like I'll let.
Or the juice in the also.
I
Okay.
do that. So here, just try a little bit of that juice on your finger and just see what that SCOBY alone.
Yeah.
The bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's apple cider vinegar.
That's it. Yeah. That's what's coming. Yeah.
Which apple cider vinegar has great nutritional benefits. So I imagine this will too.
It will. Listen to that.
That
combination. I love it. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to add a little bit more of this juice, which is peach flavored, into here as the starter, and it's really just going to take off from there. So Lisa, what I'll do is, this is so messy. Maybe we can just rinse this out real quick, and then I'm just going to set it on top.
Do you put it on tight?
No, so this is going to be an aerobic experience for the first 3 weeks. And I just do like this, and the air can flow right through there. So we'll just need to find some place on the counter to keep that.
Yeah.
This process is the next step after this 3 week process.
Okay.
So this sits for 3 weeks. It ferments. The SCOBY consumes the tea, consumes the sugar, and then leaves another layer of SCOBY on the top. At that point, we'll take the SCOBY out. We'll put it in a bag with a little bit of this juice. Keep it in the fridge. It'll slow down its process. If you keep it on the counter or someplace else, it will continue to grow. It'll continue to mature, and it'll also just deepen the flavor.
Okay.
I don't know if the audience has had like flavored vinegar before, but they sell a lot of different varieties of flavored vinegar, and depending upon the length of time they allow it to ferment, the deeper the taste and the flavor goes into it, right? Maybe we'll do some of that at some point here too. But the second step is this. So you'll take the SCOBY out, you'll take that liquid, and all you'll do is you'll add in some kind of fruit to this jar. My favorite right now going is usually mixed berries.
Oh.
They're frozen. I buy them at the store. And I'll blend them up until they're into a slurry, and then I'll just pour the slurry in, maybe a cup or a cup and a half into something like this. And then I'll separate it into jars like this that I can put into my fridge.
Okay.
And then it becomes an aerobic deal. I'll tighten this lid so tight, and then it allows this to ferment for 5 days at room temperature. It flavors the kombucha with the flavor of the fruit, and then after that point, you put it in the fridge. Now, I found that if I take something right from the fermentation process with the fruit and I consume it that day, let's say I put it in the fridge and I drink it later that night, it's okay.
Okay.
But if I take it and I put it in the fridge for a week and then I consume it, the process internally here just heightens the flavor, the carbonation, everything. So it's almost like, if I were to say it, it's like almost a 4-week process.
It's a labor of love.
It is. So when I consume kombucha, I consume it every day, twice a day, lunch and dinner. I have have to make enough kombucha, and then I start the next process when I see my volume decreasing. I'm like, I got to make some more.
Yeah.
And I start that process early so that it just continues the flow of kombucha so that I don't ever run out.
So how often would you say you make it?
Oh, I can probably check the last video I did for this channel. But I would say every 3 weeks I make kombucha. And it's not a long process. If we, like we did here, I would just be constantly heating up water over and over again and pouring it off and moving the tea bag to the other containers until I've made 7 gallons of tea or so. And then I go from there. But
I love it. Well, and as you're drinking it, it's not like you need like 44 ounces of kombucha for the health benefits, right? You just have
just a little.
your little flask.
Yep.
You get your probiotics for the day.
Yep.
A little fizzy.
Yep.
You're good.
And I drink probably more than I should. Like I drink half of this a day. If I drink a whole thing, I will be visiting the bathroom frequently. So half.
So you know it's working.
Half is money. Half is money.
That's the sweet spot.
That's it.
I love it.
All right, guys. Well, as we wind up here, I'm going to try to clean up a little bit. This jar, it's not airtight, so the air can still go in and out of this jar. It'll sit on Lisa's countertop or in her cupboard or something like that where it'll allow this to do its magic over the next 3 weeks. And after that 3 weeks, maybe we'll come back with another project and we'll finish out the kombucha and we'll flavor it at that point.
Okay.
Okay?
I love it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Any last words for the audience today, Lisa?
Just remember probiotics. I mean, you can get it from kombucha, you can get it from yogurt, you can get them from kimchi, think fermented foods, and they're really going to feed that gut.
Yeah.
That's really going to help your brain.
Yeah. Maybe we make kimchi next.
Oh.
Have you ever done it?
No.
Oh, I have.
And?
So yummy.
Let's do it.
So yummy. All right, guys. Take care. We love you. Keep up the good work. Make sure you focus on your nutrition, your fitness, your mental health. Let's make this journey work for all of us together.
We'll see you later.